Hey YouTube, welcome to the channel. My name is Minhoody, and today I want to talk to you guys about Elijah Quinby's $100 GP Mirror Masterclass. This course has been going around a lot because people are talking about it, saying it should not be worth $100, and I'm here to give you an honest review. Elijah Quinby hit me up the other day and said, hey man, I would love to offer you this class for free if you were willing to make a honest review of the video. I won't be upset if you say it's bad. I won't be upset if you say it's a scam. So I'm here today to tell you guys about this course. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there live, but he kept me the VOD of the course so I can kind of see the general idea of what was happening in the course. And I did watch the entire 4-hour course. Sit back, relax, and let's talk about it. Now, I don't want to spend the entire time talking just about Elijah Quinby's course because I do want to take this opportunity to actually talk about courses, Metafy, master classes in general, and kind of what I expect as a One Piece player that is paying money and investing my time into supporting you this way, and what I get back out of that. But before I get in that, I will talk about Elijah Quinby's masterclass and kind of what I think it may need work on, and use also that as a general idea of what masterclasses should need. So I think that the first thing that it was kind of missing was a good kind of summary as to what you're getting out of the masterclass. So when you sign up for the masterclass, I feel like there wasn't a clear, concise idea of what exactly was going to be done. And I think that's the first step that needs to be given to anybody purchasing this for $100 is that, hey, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing VOD reviews. We're going to be doing a Q&A. We're going to be doing this and this and this before purchase. That way people know what to expect when going in. Because a lot of this course was just a VOD review. In fact, it was just 10 VODs reviewed, and he was just kind of going through and explaining exactly what was going through his mind, exactly what his options were, and that is really good. It's really good information, but I think at the same time it is really good to give your customers, your supporters, a clear, concise idea of exactly what they're paying for, because $100, again, like a lot of people are saying, is a lot of money. So being able to know exactly what you're getting out of that $100 is very important, and that needs to be said beforehand before anything happens. And then with the actual course, and I don't know if the masterclass live was any different than just the VOD, but I don't know when you start recording. But I think that the actual course itself, I feel like needed an introduction where it said, hey guys, welcome to the class. My name is Elijah Quinby. Today we're going to be talking about GP Luffy, exactly what to do, all this, all that. And then maybe go through like deck list, tech options and whatnot based on the mirror, based on the meta, just kind of actually go through and talk to the people, because yes, they can go onto top decks and look up a list, put it into their sim, sure. But why exactly are these cards in the deck? What does this add value? And I feel like if it's a master class, literally master class, you kind of need to go through everything. And that's very important, because information is everything. Because there was a guy in the live chat, I was able to see the live chat because Metafy keeps a history, that said he's pretty new to the game. So I feel like for players that are especially new to the game, this information is so important. Like, why are we running Luffy Taro? Why would we run Electric Luna? Why would we run this over that? Why Nico Robin over Frankie over Zoro Juro? There's so many different options and so many techs in so many different decks, and I feel like having this deck list information is very important, because if you want to cater to newer players, intermediate players, and expert players, you kind of have to include all this information for everybody, because you're gonna have such a wide range of people interested in your content. That's super important to have. Running through deck list, the general run game plan of the deck itself and whatnot, all super important, because if you're going to do a masterclass on the mirror specifically, you also kind of need to include the fundamentals and all the information of the deck itself. That way, because it is important to know your opponent's deck just as much as your own, and if it's a mirror masterclass, it's very important to know the deck itself. I also think it's very important, because it's such a long class, that it's important to tell your viewers or your customers, your consumers, especially if you have a specific moment in the game where you think is very important, is that you highlight that at the beginning of the course. Like, hey guys, I know it's going to be a long course. I do have some lethal puzzles later. We're going to take some breaks in between games of watching VODs to do some lethal puzzles and maybe some interaction. But there is a specific part in the course here, right after this part here, that I really want to highlight, because there was a really crucial moment that I had a really nice like game plan where it completely turned the game around in my favor. and I was able to clutch the win because of that. So let's just kind of go through the course and make sure you guys stick around for that part, because again, it's very important to keep your students or your customers engaged. Giving them something to look forward to in the course is very important, because they're paying money and they need to feel excited. Going through a masterclass or a course where it's just kind of VOD review and a lot of talking is like high school. You're sitting in a classroom, your teacher's speaking, you're reading your textbook, you're staring at a screen. It's super hard to kind of stay attentive. And especially for people like me with ADHD, and I'm always having to do something or 3 things at once, it's really hard for me to sit there and stare at a screen that doesn't change without any interaction. And I feel like even though I wasn't there live watching the VOD review or watching the VOD of the course, which was just a lot of VOD review, and it wasn't too much engaging with the customers either, because Elijah would interact with them after each VOD, which is kind of rough, because I feel like questions being answered immediately is also very important. And I know he said, I think he had notes on his second monitor, but having the chat there is very crucial to me, I would say, because being able to speak to them and answer the questions in the moment without them having to see everything and go through everything and then you go back to the questions, because it's really hard to go back and answer questions where you don't really remember what was happening at that moment, because your mindset is completely different now than when it was before. And that brings me up to the next thing, engaging with the viewers. I think in a course, it's very, very important for any course at all ever to have things like lethal puzzles, to interact and engage with the students and be able to kind of be like, hey, how about we do a scrim? How about we take 2 of you guys, let's scrim, everybody stream both sides, we'll do open hand pretty much, and we can kind of talk about, hey, what is the optimal play here, or what is the worst play here? Because I think more so than playing optimally, playing poorly really engraves things into people's mind, because I can probably tell you a few times where I was like, oh, I made an insane play that made me win the game and it was so optimal, but I can tell you almost every single time that I play sub-optimally that made me lose the game, that made me remember, hey, I could have done this instead. It's kind of like that trauma factor. So because I lost, in Dallas Regionals, I lost a game because I swung 2 or 3 times into a Sangoro against a Pluffy. I lost that game because I spent that turn targeting the Sangoro and he protected it. I spent so many resources just to attack that Sangoro, but I could have won the game if I just spent that turn swinging at life and pressuring life, because again, it's it's 3k extra that he had to commit to be able to protect his life versus the Sangoro. And I lost the game because of that play. And that was months ago. I will remember that forever because it's traumatic and it put me almost outside of top 64. I could have potentially got top 32. So I think having scrims against people and having them play how they want, play it out, and then you tell them hey, maybe we could have done this and this and this so that this happens. Playing around that trauma factor in a course is very, very important, I would say, because again, it engraves it into their mind and they feel like, oh, that was an enlightening moment. I never thought about it that way, but now that you show me and now that I see why I lost because of it, I'm going to remember it forever. Just like how real_Joshua, we were streaming, we were playing Shanks, I was kind of giving him a little coaching, and I told him, you counter out of this, you 2k, 1k, but I didn't tell him what to counter out with. Instead of using Hongo, he used Otama, and he lost because of it. The Otama Beckman combo next turn would have been insane, but he gave up the Otama instead of the Hongo, and we lost because of it. So going through it kind of like that, I feel like is very important because it keeps your viewers engaged, it gives them something to look forward to, and it's even more relatable with the other students because you get to see 2 people on a level of them, wherever you want to put them. I don't know what you want to place, beginner, intermediate, expert. You see people on a different level of the teacher itself playing against each other, and maybe they're closer to your level, so you kind of understand what they're thinking and why they might do something else, and then the teacher explains why not. And then let's talk about pricing. Pricing is important because it does depend on how many hours you put into the course. If you're putting a lot of hours into making a course, a lot of effort into making a course, I would definitely say, yes, you can charge as much as you want. But again, price is subjective. You are your own person. You can value yourself at whatever you want. When I'm in the filmmaking field, there's people that charge for an entire day $150 for their work, shooting a video, editing a video, $150. So cheap. I charge 1,000 minimum per day for shooting and editing. So well, it's all included. Editing is included, but that is my minimum charge for most of the time. And shoots end up being anywhere between 5 hours to 13 hours, and then the editing process. But I'm happily okay with that because that's my price, that's my day rate. And you know, like, I've done enough in the past 12 years to be able to figure out what my good price is, what I'm comfortable with, and yeah, and I know how much work I put into my work. And now when it comes to courses, you can go from an hourly, like, okay, let's see, how much do I want to make per hour? Let's say I want to make $50 per hour. Okay, so let's take $50, and how many hours of work did I put into making this course, planning, shooting, editing? Let's say I put 24 hours into making this course, right? So I want to make $1,200. $1,200. So now is the question of how many students do I want to open this up to? How many students want to open this live up to? Let's say for $1,200, a reasonable price. Let's say I want to keep it super intimate. I don't want to charge, you know, I don't want to have too many people to it to where it's a point where I can't really engage with my students. So let's say I want to do like 15 students, $80. I put in 24 hours of work. I want to make $50 an hour. I open up to 15 students. I can charge $80 an hour. It's reasonable. I put in a lot of work into this course. And I think that when I say hours of work, it's not hours of playing sim and explaining what I want to do. It's because I'm going to do that anyways. Like, screen recording and playing sim is not as crucial to actually creating content and setting up things like self versus self lethal puzzles, self versus self situations, or even laying out and recording a situation where, hey, I have cards in my hand, I have my opponent's hand set up, and I'm going to play out this situation for you guys in different ways where there's the options like, hey, I could swing at board here, I could swing at life here, I could not swing at all here. This is my reason for doing this versus that, and how the three options can work out and what the outcomes will be. So it's hours like that where you're actually implementing and creating situations that aren't just sim play. Sim play is content anybody can make, everyone can make. It's all over YouTube. People can watch hours and hours and hours and hours of it, but it won't click in their minds until the specific thing is set up where it's like, why won't mine work? I feel like the human mind, it's like, I have my way, I know what I want to do here, and I might stick to that. Because how many times have you said to your friends like, hey, it's a lot better to go 7 here, 6 here, and blah, 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 but it never clicks to them. The other day I was on Cross's stream, he was playing a game, and I told him, he was playing Lucci, and a lot of people in the chat were telling him to swing 7 at the 6K to clear his board entirely, the opponent's board. But Cross didn't want to do that. He wanted to play defensively because he believed that if the opponent found Diable Jambe or Sanji, he was going to lose anyways. And it was very important because the 7K would have connected because the opponent Zoro used Nami to find a 2-cost Sanji to get unblockable to his 5-drop Luffy, and that won him the game because Sanji can't give unblockable to leader. Cross would have stayed alive because he would have, one, had another blocker anyways to be able to block, and he would have had the board of the opponent cleared, and he could have gone for game next turn. That's not how things go because Cross didn't realize that the 2-cost Sanji can't give unblockable to leader. And it's things like that where even on the beginner level to the expert levels, there's things that go over people's heads that really need to be clicked by seeing specific situations and knowing cards and whatnot. So creating those situations rather than just playing sim is very important. And that's where I think hours go into versus actually just recording screen, because people like me, it's very hard for me to gain retention and keep attention where it needs to be when I'm just staring at one screen without any interruption. It's just me getting information constantly overflowed in my head and I don't get a break. And that's kind of what the course was. I think that the course was really just too much information all at once without any real interaction. Yes, you can answer questions, but I think that you need to cater to everybody's learning style. Not everybody has the same learning style. it's hard for me to learn from stuff where it's just me staring and not engaging, because that again is high school. I dropped out of school because it just wasn't for me. I couldn't learn by staring. I can definitely learn, like I can retain information, but after a while it all just kind of starts like plateauing. It's just like a flat line because I'm staring at the screen for 4 hours and it's just VOD review. And yes, I can think like, oh, let me do this and this and this, but with ADHD also, I will be doing other things. I will be like eating, I'll be like potentially playing a sim game myself and reviewing back and forth. Like there's a lot that I could potentially do because I don't feel as engaged with the teacher when it's just me staring at the screen. Overall, I don't know if $100 was the right charge here. I think that yes, Elijah Quinby is a great player. He's amazing. He gave really, really good information. But I think that if the wrong student had bought this course, they would be very, very upset because they may not have been able to learn anything. Honestly, I think that if I paid $100 for this, I may be a little upset because it's really hard for me to learn, and I would have to watch the 4-hour VOD over and over and over and over and over, at least probably like 4 times, because I wouldn't have been able to keep my attention because it wasn't as engaging. And then actually watching the VOD afterwards does also feel even less engaging because it's not live, it's not actually happening as we're going, and I can't really interact with the teacher. But I do think that even if I was there live, it still wouldn't have been as great for me. And again, this is just my personal opinion. If you took the course, if you guys learned from it, and there was a good amount of students in there, some of them did say they learned a lot from the course, and that's really good. I'm glad that they learned. In my opinion, coming from a field where courses are very prominent, very expensive, I think that the standard needs to be a lot more interaction, a lot more things that people can do rather than just staring at a screen and taking in information and soaking it constantly. Like, yes, you can sit there and take notes, but this isn't high school. We're in a place where we have a lot more resources, especially online. If you take the time, we can actually give people good things with really nice graphics and interaction and actual assignments that they can do, you know? And maybe Metafy doesn't have that stuff that we can do, but you can always bring them into a Discord. You can always stream on Discord and explain to them, just mute everybody, allow them to look at your screen, you know, play against each other again. Again, I think the biggest thing is interaction. I've been saying it the entire video, interaction is so important, and taking the time to actually put together pieces where things will be fun. I think people learn through fun rather than just classroom style stuff. But overall, I think the course gave amazing information. There was a lot of good stuff that people probably wouldn't have thought of if they were on a more beginner level. But I do think, again, it needed to be more like in-depth. I feel like there was a lot of in-depth explanation, but the course itself wasn't as in-depth. The gameplay information, he went through everything. He explained everything thought by thought, but coming from someone, even if they've never touched GP Luffy, I think there needed to be more about the deck itself rather than the deck in the situations that you had put him in with the VODs, because there's so much information that people need to know before they actually get into the gameplay, and I think all that is super important when learning a deck. Overall, I would give it maybe like a 7. Not like, again, really good information, just the course itself, the actual class, I feel like was hard for me to watch, and that's pretty much all. And that's subjective, so it depends on your learning style, which is very important when it comes to stuff like this. Let's summarize the video and give you a quick TLDR of what I said, because this is a super long video, guys. 1, I would implement a clear, concise summary of exactly what the customers are getting before the course, before they pay, before anything on a description page. Like, hey, today we're going to be doing a VOD review to start off. We're going to go through a few lethal puzzles in between each VOD. We're going to do a couple scrims between students where we play open hand, and I will kind of dictate and kind of tell you guys like, hey, you should have done this versus this versus this, and then we can play another game where I kind of guide you guys and tell you what to do, just so I can kind of see where you guys are at in your mind, so I know how your playstyle is and what you might potentially want to do versus what you should do. And then go through an introduction in the actual course where it talks about yourself, your greeting, introduce yourself like, hey, my name is Hoodie. I place top 64 in Dallas, and today I'm teaching you Red, Green, Luffy. Again, highlighting specific moments in the course where it's like, okay, guys, in about an hour, I'm going to be talking about this specific technique that I found to help me a lot in this deck, but we're going to have to work our way up to that point. So make sure you guys stick around for this. Look forward to this point because this is a turning point in knowing how to play the deck. Engaging activities, lethal puzzles, scrims again, talking to your viewers and your students and kind of telling them exactly why you would do this versus this, or even asking them in the middle of your gameplay, what do you guys think I should do here? And then you'll kind of get an idea of how each student thinks, and then you can kind of tell them what your mind is and why you picked that over doing what they said. We talked about pricing. We talked about how much you want to make per hour, divvying it up by how many customers or students you want to kind of keep it more personal and intimate, versus maybe you can make it more public if you think that the Metafy course or the Masterclass is a little bit less engaging so that you can open it up to more people. So like, even though we wanted to make $1,250 an hour for 24 hours of work and charging $80 for 15 people, maybe it was a little bit less engaging. Maybe we decided like, hey, this isn't as, personal or intimate as a course. So maybe we can actually open it up to 50 people. And now for $1,200, charging 50 people, we can make it $24. We still make it $1,200. It's just like we divide it up by how much we think we need to make it intimate. And that comes to a point where it's just up to you. You could charge more, you could charge less. Price is subjective. It depends how much you think your value is. So I can't necessarily speak on the price, but charge how you want. That's kind of how I think about the charge, like hours of work, how much I want to make per hour of work, and then divide it up to how many students I want to open it up to. And maybe I want to make it open to the public. I could charge even more. I could charge even less and make more. And that's the beauty of it, because you never know, and depends, you just put it out there and you can get what you want, Anyways, this was a long video, guys. It's been 25 minutes. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think and how many courses have you taken. I personally haven't really taken any courses when it comes to One Piece, so I'm not too familiar with what's out there. I've seen a lot of Metafy guides. I've seen a lot of graphics. I've seen textbook-based stuff, but I feel like that isn't enough sometimes. Reading is not my strong suit. I hate reading. It makes me super tired. So being able to engage with things is very important for me. So let me know, for any of you guys who have taken course, let me know in the comments if there's anything you guys desire more out of courses, because I feel like this could be a central ground for people who think that, hey, maybe I can find what I need more out of a course, or what I need to make more in my courses here, because it's important for people to know what they need from you guys. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already, and drop in that comment below. Let me know, what do you guys think courses need more of. See you guys in the next video. Peace.